it's Nigeria. That's how Nigeria is. Why are we normalizing it? Why are we normalizing stress and incompetence? Someone recently saw the thumbnail of my 3 months after moving back to Nigeria video where I said, do I regret it? And she said, I regret it on your behalf. And I found it very funny, to be honest. I wasn't even offended by it at all. But it did make me think about the question again. Because now it has been over 6 months since I moved back to Nigeria. And I think I have a much better idea on how to answer that question. So do I regret moving back? Let's talk about it. Because I think the easiest thing would be to look at my life and say, you moved from the US back to Nigeria. Why? And to be fair, I understand why some people would think that way. There were a lot of circumstances and nuances surrounding my decision to move back that the average person may not necessarily understand, unless you were directly involved in my life at that point. Before I go any further, this magnificent, beautiful top, this is from my crochet business, What Did Ro Make? If you love it and you want something like this, you can leave a comment in my comment section. You can also check us out on Instagram and make an order. Thank you. Now that I have been here for 6 months plus, I have experienced enough of both good and bad to give you a pretty honest review. I think the first thing is family and friends. The average person living in diaspora would talk to you about how lonely it feels, about how sad it is to miss out on major life events. Unfortunately, being from Nigeria is the reality of the average 20 to 30-year-old person because a lot of your friends have either moved or you are the one that has moved, and it's just harder to have that sense of community. And one of the things I've enjoyed since I got back is being able to spend time with family. When you are away, you miss out on so many things. You don't realize just how much you have missed out on being around your people until you've been away for a while. There are just certain things about being home that you cannot replicate when you're living somewhere else, even if you try. You can come close, but it's never really the same thing. Just being able to see my parents without having to plan a whole trip around it is a blessing. I've gotten to see people that I haven't seen in a very long time. And I honestly didn't realize how much I missed them until I started seeing them frequently. I was like, oh, I actually miss this. Wow. Because I feel like there's a way your brain kind of compartmentalizes it so that you don't feel overwhelmed by the loneliness or by missing your people. And these are the things that have meant a lot more to me. Ironically, I miss my friends a lot. I miss the life I built in the US a lot. I miss just being able to plan something and go out. I miss that freedom that you get to be able to move around. One of the weird things about being back is that you're surrounded by people, a lot of people. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have rebuilt your social circle. As someone that tends to be socially anxious and introverted, believe it or not, it's harder because I tend to be indoors all day. And even when I'm out, socializing is not my forte. To add to that, there's a whole issue of personal space and boundaries. A lot of Nigerians don't know how to mind their business. And while that is not inherently a bad thing, the main issue is that they do not understand or recognize boundaries. There was this time I went to relock my hair and someone walked by and she recognized the person that was relocking my hair and she was talking to her. And she starts like pushing me, tapping me and telling me, oh, it's my turn, get up so that I can sit. And initially I knew she was joking and all of that. So I was like, just, it was awkward, but I'm like, okay, she's an older woman, I'm just going to play along. And she keeps on pushing me. So I stopped responding. And honestly, in hindsight, I should have said something like, stop touching me. There's just a whole issue with boundaries. I do not know you. I have laughed at your joke. Why are you still doing this? And I understood that even the woman that was making my hair wasn't comfortable with the interaction as well. It's just examples like that. Sometimes people are just way more involved in other people's personal lives than I'm used to, and frankly, than they should be. I definitely miss having more separation sometimes. And another thing I missed while in the US was how accessible some things were. Everywhere you go in Nigeria, there's an entire market for Nigerian food, Nigerian clothing. Of course, that makes sense because it's in Nigeria, right? But over there, like you see a piece of clothing in Ankara and they're calling hundreds of dollars, and you're just like, I have a tailor that can make this thing for a fraction of that price. A lot of times, you're stuck with either having to pay an arm and a leg to get what you want or not getting it at all. My 6 years of being in the US, I can count how many times I actually shopped at the African store. You would see a tuber of yam that is this big, and they're selling it for like $40. And you're just like this more yam, $40. It's crazy. So it's just things like that. The cost of living in Nigeria is also high and things are very ridiculously expensive. Just knowing that whenever you want it, you don't have to climb mountains and cross rivers to get what you want is very nice. On the flip side though, while certain things are incredibly accessible, other things that should be simple can become unnecessarily strenuous. For instance, I have been trying to renew my driver's license for the past 6 months. Yes, the first month I got back, I got a temporary driver's license while they were supposedly processing the permanent one, and that was meant to last 2 months. That expired, and then I went to get the permanent driver's license. And what they did was to extend the temporary one by another 2 months. So it's been 4 months now. I haven't gotten my driver's license yet. Even when you go there, the process, the waiting, everything is just so strenuous. It's just so frustrating. My first week coming back, I registered for a 10-kilometer run, and I had to go get my running gear. And the stress, Oh my goodness. I think I got there by 11 a.m. or 10 a.m., 10 a.m. thereabout, and I didn't leave there until about 3 p.m. And at the end of the day, I couldn't even get the vest because they had run out. Like, bro, even on the final day where we were meant to get our medals, the struggle was crazy. It was just a whole mess. Even though for a random person that just asked me if I had a medal and gave me, I would probably not have a medal. It's actually wild. These are things that you think that, okay, because it's a system that has been running for a while, it should be a better process. You'd be thinking wrong. The overcomplications and stress can be overwhelming. And then one thing I find really annoying is that when you complain to people, they're like, "Oh, it's Nigeria. That's how Nigeria is." Why are we normalizing it? Why are we normalizing stress and incompetence? Like, I don't get it. That statement pisses me off so much because nobody enjoys these processes. So why aren't they streamlined? Why aren't they more organized? Why aren't they more controlled? Why are we taking it as something that we just have to bear, something that we just have to tolerate because that's how Nigeria is? Make it make sense. Healthcare is another one. It's weird, right? Because on the one hand, healthcare is cheaper. You don't have to break the bank to go see your doctor. You don't even need insurance to be able to go get a checkup or have basic medical care. It is significantly more affordable and accessible than in the US. However, cheaper and more accessible don't always mean better. And trust me, as someone that has been sick twice now, the last time I was violently ill, I don't know what was wrong with me, just a plethora of different things, and I had to go to the doctor and everything. I'm very grateful to have it easily accessible and not be worried about how much you have to pay. However, the quality of care leaves much more to be desired. One thing that genuinely surprised me though was the fitness scene. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it is. A lot of people are taking their health and fitness seriously, and there is a really active fitness community here. As someone that spends a lot of time in the gym, that has been a very nice surprise. Probably though, the most important part of this entire experience for me is my mental health. My life didn't magically get better when I came back. If anything, I've even been more frustrated by random stuff, especially internet. If I see MTN, count your days. MTN, count your days. Anyway, even in a more balanced system or society, there are a lot of things that are easily accessible. And when those things get taken away from you, you're forced to live a life without those things. It gets really frustrating. And there are still a lot of things I'm figuring out. And although I've had a lot of hard moments, mentally, I'm in a better place. I actually think I really needed to move. I didn't recognize just how much my life in the US wasn't something I wanted to live in anymore. Yes, I would still show up to gatherings, I'll show up to get togethers, I'll show up to events. But after those events and everything, I go back home and I'm miserable. I'm unhappy. I am depressed. I am tired. I am exhausted. I am so stressed and under a lot of pressure. I don't think I realized just how much stress and pressure I was carrying until I wasn't carrying them anymore. So even though there are a lot of things about being back that frustrate me to the core, I think having less pressure and being in a healthier mental environment has been worth a lot. So 6 months later, do I regret moving back? No, I don't. Do I think moving back solved all my problems? Absolutely not. There are things that I miss about the US. There are things about Nigeria that piss me off. The one thing I know for sure is that my decision wasn't made in a vacuum. And 6 months later, even if my life isn't where I thought it would be, I still think that moving back to Nigeria in this season was the best decision for me. Let's see what the next 6 months bring. And yes, if you're still watching, thank you so much for watching. This has been whatever this is. This has been Real Talk, life updates, whatever you want to call it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.